All right, guys. So thanks for joining. We had a couple of requests for newer inspectors to basically say, hey, what do these guys do when it comes to time service, and what do they do when it comes to submissions? And so we ran through some of the numbers, some of the team leads and I, and we landed on Michael Morales. You were running 90% on 78 a month. Mike Fuller was 91% on 74, and Antonio Torres was 100% on 30. And fun fact, Antonio, you were the only one to maintain 100 for the first half of the year.
Cool.
So that was yeah, so that was kind of cool. Um and it looks like sorry, it looks like Michael's having a bit of an issue getting in. I'm gonna text him that. But anyway, so what I wanted you guys to do is basically try and explain how you approach it, how you do it. You know, some of you have days in the field, days in the office. Some of you work mornings, some of you work in the afternoon. You know, whatever it may be. I want to know your process first, and then we can start looking at things like contacting and so forth. So whoever wants to kick it off, I'm going to send Michael Morales the link here in a second, so he can hopefully hop in on his phone.
Okay, I'll start. It took me about a year to actually get, kind of the process that works for me down. I started doing it one way, and anyway, as far as I think I fine tuned it to a way that it works for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I spend 2 days in the field, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
Typically, I'm going to be on the phones Fridays and Mondays, setting up appointments for Tuesdays. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing reports and making calls for my Thursday appointments. And
Okay.
then basically start all over again. Friday, start working for the following Tuesday appointments. So I don't think you can, if you can be out in the field more, that's great. But, I didn't take this on as a full-time job. So, if I wanted to make it one, I could. I've got enough work to do where I could probably go out and work every day if I wanted to. but,
Yeah.
so, and of course I make the contact as quick as possible. I always try to reach it by phone first. And most important thing I've learned is confirm the address that's on the inspection.
Oh yeah.
That's the first thing you want to do, because you never know whether you get wrong addresses or a number inverted or what have you. So that's the main thing in my first conversation. But I also try to get all the information I need in that initial conversation with the owner or the insured, rather than have to come back. And so I'm going to try to get everything I can in the first conversation with the individual. And if not, then I'm going to work through emails. And if the emails don't work, I'm going to go back through the agent, see if I can get the agent to help. And if he or she can't get anything done, then I'm going to contact Alex and have her contact the client. And I'm usually going to give people 2 to 3 business days to respond. And if they don't, I'm going to go to the next step. And eventually, once it ends up in the client's hands, you'll typically, you're going to hear from somebody fairly quickly after that. So, but we're all going to have the people that don't want to return calls and respond to emails and all that. That's just part of the business. But that's kind of my process. And I average whatever 25 to 30 inspections a week, probably submitted.
I was gonna say, when you mentioned that originally, only doing inspections in the field twice a week, averaging 74 a month. That's you're cramming in a day right there.
Yeah, my Tuesday's usually my biggest day. I'll usually average 14 to 16 on a Tuesday. I'll get in town about 8:30 and hit it pretty hard. But the good thing is I've been doing this long enough in this area to where we still half the stuff I look at, we got previous reports on. So, there's a lot
Okay.
of things I don't have to go out and measure again or, what have you,
Yeah.
which makes it really nice. That's a great thing about being able to get a previous copy, of an inspection. It really saves you a lot of time and what have you. So, but, I've been here 8 years. So, I've been looking at some of the same stuff for over and over, which is fine by me. It doesn't matter to
Yeah.
me. So
Okay. Well, good,
anyway,
man. I
that's my deal.
Okay. So, and then, all right, Antonio, what's your process, man?
Well, usually on Mondays, I do the paperwork. Mondays and Tuesdays, And on those days also I make phone calls for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Sometimes I don't do. I mean, on Fridays, a lot of times it's difficult to get an owner of a business uh, in the office to see them, or talk to them. So a lot of times they say that they're not in the office. They have 3-day weekends. They're the owner of the business. So a lot of times on Fridays I'll do like dwellings where I
Okay.
don't have to see anyone. So I'll do a lot of property on that day. But of course I call the owner and let them know ahead of time. To let the tenants know that somebody's going to probably be in the yard taking pictures. But I have different areas where I have to go because I'm in the RGV. So I'm what they consider Upper Valley. There's
Mhm.
Mid Valley, and then there's Lower Valley. Lower Valley is Brownsville, South Padre Island. That's a good 60-mile drive.
Yeah.
So if I go there, I put I try to get as many that I can that are I wait until not just to do one to drive all the way over there. I'll wait till I get like at least 4 or 5
Okay.
or 6, and then I'll go and I'll take a trip out there. So I get all my inspections and I put them in groups of McAllen area, McAllen, Mission, and Far, which are within my vicinity, very easy to get to, and then Mid Valley, which is about 20-30 miles away, and then the Lower Valley. So I'll do it that way. The ones in where I live, I don't those ones they could be a mile away or a couple blocks away. So I could do those really at any time.
Yeah.
So if somebody says 5 o'clock in the afternoon, ain't no problem, I'm there. So those ones are more flexible, the ones that are close by.
Okay.
And then on Mondays and Tuesdays, I start doing all the paperwork.
Okay. So you're in the field Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in the office Monday, Tuesday.
I rarely do a Saturday. Saturday I'll do if somebody says, they own property or something and they can't open it up or something for some reason, but they'll say, hey, you know what? I can meet you on a Saturday. But then I'll just go and do 1 or 2 and that's it.
Okay.
But that's rare.
And Michael Morales, what's your approach, man? How do you break down a week and how do you start that?
I also own I'm a home and commercial property inspector.
Okay.
So I that's my bread and butter. So these I try and squeeze in around and when I'm going to those areas. Like Antonio, I've actually taken on even further south now. I can be going, 65, 70 miles in one direction.
Where are you, Mike?
I'm in Jupiter,
Florida.
and I'm working basically. I get rarely a handful in my area. I get a lot in Delray, Boca, West Palm Beach, and I just picked up Hollywood and some parts of Fort Lauderdale and some of those areas, which I don't mind if I'm going that way. Like Antonio says, I'll wait and try and jump them all into one pile.
Right.
And then I will always go and do the furthest one and then come back, work my way home.
Yeah.
As far as how I do them, they come in. I don't like seeing those pink lines on my queue. They drive me nuts.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I have a pile of those things and I will hit them every day. I'll call them. I'll usually try, it depends. I've gotten up to, may not sound like much, but maybe 12 in a day due to the driving.
Mm-hmm.
Average of 8 to 12.
Yeah.
I'll go and do them. I'll come home. I want to complete them. I don't like letting them wait and then go back to them because then sometimes I forget.
Yeah.
Even though I wrote the information down, I sometimes forget.
Okay. I was going to ask, so how many days a week are you in the field typically? Like, how do you break office and field work out?
I usually try and, if I have my way, I'll be doing it basically every day, usually 3 to 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try and get everything, all done by Thursday, Friday, and then make the calls to set up for Monday.
Okay.
But if I do about 8 a day, I know it's, again, maybe not a lot, but if I get the 8 done, I'll come home, they'll get done. I'll have time to make phone calls for the next day and into the rest of the week. If I get a full day, I can set the entire week up in a full day.
Okay.
I wish I can, do them. I'm starting now to push my regular inspections to the weekends, more on the weekends, so I can squeeze more of these in as well.
Okay.
The method is slowly trickling and getting faster
Okay.
for me.
There you go. So, all right. So when you guys get an account, like how old is it before, like what's your latest age before you're making your first contact?
Well, are you asking all of us? Or
yeah. This is just all of you. Yeah.
within 2 days, and then
Yeah, it was like 5 days. Yeah.
5, and so I kind of got started on that a little bit. Unless you got them alphabetically sorted, you start making calls on people that you're probably not going to see for 2 weeks, and you may get a hold of them that day, and you may not, and then the next day they call you back. Well, here you are digging through files trying to find out, okay, where's that file? So it would got to be more time consuming than I was willing to put to it. So typically I'm going to go, I'm out right now. I'm probably 7 to 8 to 9 days before I contact them.
Okay.
Somewhere in that.
The latest I do is
shorter, but that's just where it is. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the latest I do is about 7 days.
Okay.
And what I started doing, because you mentioned that we got to contact them earlier. As soon as I get them now, I send them an email.
Okay.
So they have the email already. So I know
if I
call them. Yeah, if I call them, if they, and sometimes we don't get
good
phone
info.
number or an email.
Yeah.
I just call the agent right away. And now I'm starting to build a rapport with some of the agents. And yeah, it's me again on the insurance inspector. I have another client.
There's a lot of power in that. If the agent knows you, yeah.
Yeah. So you build a rapport and you just start talking to them. Hey, how's it going? And of course I always apologize. Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have another one of your clients and I need some information. So they're happy to do it.
And what about you, Mr. Morales?
I was calling them as soon as I got them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eric threw in that whole new Fort Lauderdale area to me.
Yeah, he's been shaking up territories and adding bodies.
No, it's I'm reaching out. I said I would help and take some on, and next thing I know, like I said, that pile starts to turn pink. So I try and blast through those and finish them. By the time I finish them, the yellow ones are turning pink. So I find myself in a never-ending loop.
That's the inspection industry.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
That's what I'm at.
Yeah.
But if I know I'm going to an area,
yeah,
like I'm going now that these Fort Lauderdale one pop up, if I see the Del Reyes and Bocas come in new and I'm driving, since I'm driving a long time anyway, I actually pick them up and I start calling while I'm driving. Sometimes they're like, yeah, come on by. Right. And then I throw them in.
Yeah.
I go out with the intentions of only doing maybe 6 or 8 and I come home doing 12.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm doing. If you look at the list now, like I just finished today, I finished up the last 3 on that you guys just gave to me yesterday. I happened to be in Del Rey. I saw the list, went by the homes, did them, and then I finished, a couple in the pink. So it's like I'm just throwing them in whenever I can get them. I try and bang them out as soon as I get them, but it's kind of difficult. Like Antonio said, you either get a phone number or you get an email. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not.
Contact retailer.
Yeah, that one drives me nuts. You know what? I told you this before, or I put it in an email last time. If these agents would just tell their clients we're calling, 90% of the people think I'm a scammer when I call or email, no matter how much information I give them.
Yep.
But you know what I found out about the email deal was that if they don't have the email, then when they send it, the order comes from them. Right. If they don't have the email to the particular contact in the agency, they don't provide it, and therefore that agent doesn't get a notice.
There you go.
Is that right, Mike?
So if we have the agent's email, an automated email goes out to them. So they get it.
I had a case with one though that she said no, that she wasn't somehow or another the company didn't have, when she was the main agent in the deal. So I called and I think I talked to maybe Marcia.
Yeah. Unless there's a typo or something in the input.
Okay. So
that's another one. I've noticed a good percentage of typos with the addresses and phone numbers. I'll
Right.
call somebody for, 2 weeks
Yeah.
only to find out it's the wrong damn
It's
number.
the wrong number.
Hey man,
Yeah.
I called
That drives me
twice.
nuts.
I called twice, and then I'm calling the agent after 2 calls.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
that was-
starting
And
to
I'm
be
gonna
me
verify
now.
the number, and I'm gonna have them reach out to the insured on that call as well.
Okay.
Sometimes what I do is like if I can't contact the owner of the business or anything,
Right.
I'll Google the business and I'll call them directly.
I've done
ask
that
for
too.
those,
Yeah.
Right.
and
Yeah.
that helps out a lot.
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I'll call people on a Friday, and if I don't hear from them, I'm gonna call them on a Monday. And if I don't hear from them by Tuesday morning, I'm calling the agent
Right.
There you go.
to reach out. You know, I mean, if you call people 2 times, 2 days in a row, they don't return your call. They're not going to return your call unless somebody
Right.
puts a fire on them. You know,
Yeah. I
it's
agree.
not important to them at that point.
Yeah.
Well,
So, 'cause
it's
that
also
was-
the fact they think you're a scammer. So why bother calling you back?
Right.
Who's this guy?
Do you
know.
guys work a lot through email? I mean, much as far as, getting your information from people about the buildings or sales, or
I'll be
y'all do
honest
it all
with
by
you.
telephone?
Probably maybe 5 to 10% through the email.
Mhm.
The rest of it, I get them all. I'm not going to say I'm a salesman, but I am a talker. Once I get somebody on the phone,
Right.
usually they're pretty easy. And then
Yeah,
they'll
but a
say,
lot of
"Yeah,
times
come
I
on
talk
out,"
to people and they don't know the information that I need. They
That
got
I'm-
to
that
get a
I'm finding
file,
too,
or they
yeah.
can look at a file, or they got to get it from somebody else. So
Well, when I get them on the
I've got to
phone-
where I've got attachments that I'll put to, if I depending on what I need, whether it's a garage form or a property form or whatever, I'm going to send them an attachment, and it's going to have basically 10 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4. Year built,
Yeah.
out, whatever it is you need. And I find that to be very successful. A lot of people like dealing through email than versus telling you something over the telephone.
So we see a lot of it in Texas. We got some guys that use the email information, that standard form that we put in with all the new hires now, that it has a narrative for you in the questions, and that's been running well.
Okay.
Right.
I
But
see some of
that's
the guys
just
get
basic. Oh, it's got the questions in it for.
yeah, bullet pointed out. So it's got the questions bullet pointed out.
Well, I haven't seen that. Can you shoot me a
Oh
copy?
yeah, I'll send it to you, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question before we get too long-winded on this. So how closely do you work with the office, and when do you reach out to like your team lead for help?
I'll reach out to the office every time I get a new batch of business from you guys, because a lot of them have previous reports on them. So I'm emailing Alex immediately and asking for a previous on it. And then the only other time I'm reaching out to the office is when I'm not getting any help from the agent and get in touch with the insured, either for an appointment or for information.
Okay.
And then,
He
that's-
brings up a good point about the previous ones.
Yeah.
When I recognize a property or a name, I
right.
automatically write an email to Joanna. Hey,
Right.
if I've done this, please send it to me.
Right.
And she does. Office is great. I have to say, the office, it Snap, everything works.
Right.
Especially when I can't get in touch with the customer. It's amazing to me. I've spent 2 weeks trying to get in touch with this person. I can't. Can you help me here? Within 1 hour, I get a phone call or an email from. Man, if they could just do that from the beginning, these things would fly. But agreed.
So we get the
that's-
automated email from the beginning,
No,
but we
I
don't
know,
have
but-
we don't have the deadline on it, right? It's
No,
not like
you
they got to
don't
call,
have to, correct.
Michael.
And
Yeah.
and
I'm
you
not
know
sure
what?
I want a call from somebody that I just got the report on. I wouldn't know
Yeah.
if they are or what they're calling about
Yeah.
I wish there was a way,
without digging through a pan full of files.
like he just said, I wish there was a way that you guys can put it into the file that it is a previous report.
Previous report.
So
then-
we argue on that every year.
That's
as
a good
team.
point. That'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we argue about it. The problem that we always debate is, what if you had an inspector that wasn't a good inspector, was only with you briefly, somebody you didn't trust? You wouldn't want
Yeah,
to duplicate
well,
bad information, right?
That's
So
true.
Correct.
That's true too.
so
yeah.
yeah, no,
No,
if
you
it's
still
if
have
it's
to
something
go
you've
to the
done,
property.
Yeah, if
Things
it's something you've
change. You
done,
have to go.
absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you reach out. You reach out if you've reached out to. I'm sorry, you contact the office if you've reached out to the agent and you haven't gotten a response. Is that kind of what I'm getting? So you're usually 3-4 contacts
Well,
in.
it's not only not a response, but I've talked to the agent, and I'm gonna give him about 2 or 3 days before. If something hadn't happened by then I'm gonna call Alex and have him contact the client.
Okay.
Yeah,
'cause
same
that's-
here.
I'm gonna give the agent a couple of days to get, to get the ball rolling for whatever it is, whether I need information or an appointment, whatever it might be. But 2 days is about all I'm gonna give them. Then I'm calling Alex to get a hold of the client.
Sicker.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, do you guys go
2
ahead, sorry.
business days,
It's
Yeah.
rare that I call the office. Usually I just call the
Agent.
I call the agent and whoever's there. Sometimes the agent's not there, and so I'll ask another producer, maybe you can help me with this,
Mhm.
and then I'll tell them, who the client is, and they'll say, oh yeah, I know that person. Let me check it for you. And so
Mhm.
sometimes they'll give me the information.
So, because
Yeah,
I
with,
mean,
with you, Antonio, that works, I think, most of the time. Whoever answers the phone, if you just tell them, I was
Right.
supposed to call for this person. I'm just looking for a phone number for a mutual client. Is there a way? And they usually always
Right.
help. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Because I was going to say, Tonio is probably the only one that knows, but I preset till I'm blue in the face with people, just like 2 calls to the insured, 1 call to the agent, and then come to the office.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
always, if they're not going
Right.
to call you back after a couple of voicemails, it's just not going to happen.
If you stick to
Right.
that system, man, it works.
Yeah.
I also, when I send the emails, every single email and every time I send it, it's always attached and pinned to the agent.
Okay.
And most of the time on the first email, the agent will say, hey, by the way, this is standard procedure. Please get in touch with the inspector. That happens maybe 20, 25% of the time.
Okay.
And other times I don't even hear from the agent.
Yeah.
So that's when you got to call the office. So I like I'll be honest, I was told give them 3 chances and then call the agent and then give them a chance.
Two.
Now that these
Give
other
'em
2
2.
witnesses here heard you and you
Two,
said
Molly,
2 and
yep.
1, that's
2.
going to be my new pattern from now on. So
Yeah. No, man. The 2 and 1 was always successful for me.
okay, I'm doing that from now on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, if I'm working through email with somebody and I send them an email and I don't have back what I need in about 2 to 3 days, I'm gonna second request them, and I'm gonna copy the agent on it.
Yeah.
And
I
that
copy the
usually-
agent on everything because I want them to know. I feel that's less of a spam if their agent's email
Okay.
pops up as
on
well.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Oh, that's
That's
a good
just my
idea.
thought.
That I have not done. I'll start doing that, and maybe
Yeah,
I'll
because,
get
you put their name in there, you put their address. Anybody can get this information from online, but you
Mm,
right.
name their agent. I always put the
Right.
agent's full name, and then I put their address and I put their agent's email in there. The only thing I don't put in there is their policy number. I was a little
on the
leery about
subject.
that.
I put the policy number on the subject.
I always
Oh,
put
you
the
do?
policy
Okay.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always put the
On
address and the name of the property. Yeah.
on the subject line, I put insurance inspection, policy number, and then that. That's what I
Gotcha.
do.
Yeah. All right, perfect, guys. So look, we got a couple minutes. Y'all want to any final thoughts for any of these newbies?
Newbies. Oh, jeez. Let's see.
No, not.
Don't get overwhelmed. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
I like when my emails start going off, man. I like to hear that bing.
No,
bing,
I don't
bing,
like it when I
bing.
go away on the weekend and 7:30 at night, on a Friday, Marsha's kicking these things out. I'm like, well, doesn't she not have a life on the weekend?
Right,
What's
right,
going
yeah.
on here?
They all
Right.
deliver
What the
from
hell?
hers. So somebody was assigning and just said, oh no, she probably hits email before she leaves. So because whenever
Oh,
we
all right.
assign it, that's when the
That's
auto
an
email goes out
automatic.
to the agent.
Gotcha. All right.
So we get updated
Yeah.
info sometimes. So she likes
No,
to
they're
sit
good
at the
because
end of the
I'll
day.
go away and then I'll get them, and it's like I don't want to come home and find, have to sit here and go through it. So wherever I'm at, if I'm in a hotel, I'll just start spitting them out and bring them home with me. This way, I have them.
Yeah.
That's just my little method. And then, like you
Yeah.
said, I'll set them all up. I'll try and get them out. I like to do at first, I just took them and tried to run them as fast as I could. Then I started the groupings, like
Yeah.
Antonio said. Screw
Yeah.
this. I'm not driving all day,
Right.
because I can spread out 8 from here. It'll take me, 2-3 hours to drive through and do 8 of them from Fort Lauderdale back to Jupiter. But yet I
Right.
can do 8 or 10 of them, in one little grouping in a shorter amount of time, make a bunch of phone calls on the way home, set up days of work. And then when I'm home, bust them out within a normal time frame. That's what seems to be working best for me.
Yeah.
Do something useful with your time. While you're driving, you got nothing better to do. So, next thing I was going to do is I was going to try actually I'm going to bring
You
my
don't practice
laptop.
your karaoke or anything?
I
No, definitely
I
not.
also carry around a clipboard.
Yes, always.
So-
Yep.
Yeah, it makes you look a little bit more important. So they like, oh my
Yeah, I
gosh,
do
you
the
got
clipboard. I have the, you know what? Here's the
Yeah,
thing
even
with
when I
people-
jump out just to take pictures or something.
yeah.
I always got my clipboard with.
I always got my clipboard first. Yeah.
Here's another
They
one.
think you're a terrorist or something, you know.
I'm sure they've asked you guys, but they constantly ask me for a business card, and I don't
Yes.
have any.
Oh yeah.
Baton Rouge, they don't care, man. Like, you know,
okay.
they're like, you got one? Yeah, if not, no big. I mean, I got a box of business cards I bought a year ago, and I still hadn't used them all.
Okay. Yeah, I don't, it's not all the time, but some people, they're like, who are you? So I show them the badge, and I have to say, a good amount of the time, they'll take a picture of the badge so they
Yeah.
know who I am, which is fine.
Oh,
You know, but
some of them think you're trying to inspect Fort Knox. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
no, that's
Mm.
what
what
I
are they
think.
building bombs in there or something? It's like, oh God, I got to check or call Joe or, you know, fill out this form.
Well, you know, they also get a little bit,
Crazy.
some of the areas that I go to, they get a little scared. They see me coming with a camera and a clipboard, and right away they think I'm a cop. So, you know, and
Want something to drink? Want something to eat? You know,
some of them
Oh,
are pretty
wow.
good.
Yeah.
You know, I've had one actually offer me breakfast, so that was good.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, guys. Well, look, that was what I wanted to put together. So I really appreciate the time. Hopefully this is really helpful to these guys.